You believe you're being hopeful. You think you're staying positive. You think you're keeping your options open and your energy high. But what you're actually doing is staying controllable. Because blind hope is not optimism. It's not faith. It's not resilience. It's obedience dressed as forward thinking. And the people who benefit from your hope are never the ones who encourage you to think clearly. You stay in the job because next quarter might be different. You stay in the relationship because they might finally change. You keep investing energy into people who give you nothing back because maybe, eventually, they'll see your value. And while you wait, while you hope, while you keep your head down and your heart open, you are being managed. You are being delayed. You are being neutralized. Because hope without strategy is just permission for others to waste your time. Schopenhauer understood this with surgical precision. He accepted hope because he was pessimistic. He rejected blind hope because he understood that it distorts reality. It makes you tolerate what you should refuse. It makes you wait when you should move. It makes you explain when you should withdraw. Blind hope keeps you in their frame. And once you accept their frame, you have already lost. This script will show you 5 psychological reversals, 5 places where your hope is being weaponized against you, 5 moments where what feels like strength is actually submission. And by the end, you will understand why the most dangerous thing you can do is believe that things will improve simply because you want them to. You will see how hope has been used to keep you useful, agreeable, and predictable. And you will learn what replaces it when you finally decide to stop performing for people who will never respect you. Most people will leave before this ends. They will feel uncomfortable. They will call this cynical. They will say you're being cold, harmful, or unrealistic. Let them. Those are the people who need to believe that the world rewards patience, kindness, and effort. You are about to understand that the world rewards clarity. It rewards boundaries. It rewards people who stop hoping and start deciding. Put your phone face down and listen, because once you see how hope has been used to control you, you will never unsee it. And once you stop hoping, you start becoming the kind of person others have to adjust to, not the other way around. If this hit you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments, just to mark the day your mindset changed. You are sitting in a meeting, your manager asks for your opinion, you give it. Clear, structured, reasonable. And then someone else speaks. They don't have a better idea. They don't have more experience, but they frame it differently. They speak with certainty. They don't ask. They don't hedge. And suddenly the room shifts. Your idea is forgotten. Theirs is adopted, not because it was better, because they controlled the frame. You accepted the evaluation. They imposed authority. You hoped your logic would speak for itself. They understood that authority is never given to the person with the best answer. It's given to the person who acts like they don't need permission. And while you were hoping to be recognized, they were deciding. You stayed in their court. You played their game. You handed them the position of judge. And hope told you that eventually, if you kept contributing, your value would be seen. But value without frame control is just free labor. Schopenhauer saw this clearly. He understood that the world does not operate on fairness, it operates on will. And will does not wait for permission. It does not hope for recognition. It simply moves. And when you wish to move instead, you signal that you are waiting for someone else to decide your position. You signal that you believe authority is something granted, not claimed. And the moment you think that, you become manageable. You become someone who can be delayed, redirected, and ignored because you have already accepted that your value is up for debate. Here is what you don't realize. Every time you explain yourself, you are asking for approval. Every time you wait for someone to notice your effort, you are outsourcing your authority. And every time you hope that things will improve without you changing your behavior, you are telling the world that you are willing to stay precisely where you are. Because hope is not action. Hope is the thing you do when you're too afraid to act. Now apply this to your relationships. You've been seeing someone for months, maybe a year, maybe longer. They are inconsistent. They respond when they feel like it. They make plans and cancel. They give you just enough attention to keep you available, but never enough to make you secure. And you hope. You hope that they'll see how patient you've been. You hope that they'll realize your value. You hope that one day they'll meet you with the same energy you've been giving them. But here's the truth. They already know your value. They've always known. And they've decided it's easier to keep you hoping than to commit. Because commitment requires adjustment, it requires them to change their behavior. But hope requires nothing from them. It only requires you to wait, and while you wait, you remain available. You remain useful. You stay in their rotation without them ever having to prioritize you. You are being managed through hope. And the longer you hope, the longer you stay controllable. Schopenhauer would tell you that suffering comes from attachment to outcomes you cannot control. But blind hope is worse than attachment. It is an attachment that pretends to be faith. It tells you that waiting is noble, patience is strength, that staying is loyalty. And while you're congratulating yourself for not giving up, you are teaching people that you will tolerate anything. You're teaching them that your boundaries are negotiable, that your time is elastic, that your presence has no cost. You handed them your frame. You enter dynamic in which they evaluate and you wait, where they decide and you adjust. And every time you hope instead of withdraw, you reinforce that dynamic. You make it easier for them to delay you, because you've already proven that delay works. You've already shown them that hope keeps you in place better than promises ever could. Here is the shift. Stop hoping they'll change. Start deciding what you will tolerate. Stop waiting for them to see your value. Start withdrawing it when it's not met with respect. Because the moment you stop hoping, you stop being manageable. The moment you stop explaining, you stop being evaluated. And the moment you create distance, you force them to adjust to you rather than expecting them to adapt to you. You stop being the person who waits. You become the person others wait for. Now take this into your friendships. You have people in your life who only reach out when they need something. Advice, validation, a favor, emotional labor, and you give it because you hope that this time they'll reciprocate. You hope that if you show up enough, they'll start showing up for you. You wish that your generosity would eventually be matched, but it never is. Because they don't see you as someone whose needs matter, they see you as someone whose needs can be delayed. And the reason they see you that way is that you've trained them to. Every time you make yourself available without hesitation, you signal low cost. Every time you respond immediately, you signal that your attention has no price. Every time you help without being asked to return the favor, you signal that the relationship is one-directional by design. And hope convinces you that this is kindness, that is friendship, that is what good people do. But good people without boundaries are just helpful people. And helpful people are never respected. They are stored, they are accessed when needed. They are never prioritized. Schopenhauer understood that most people are governed by their own suffering. They are not thinking about you. They are thinking about what you can do for them. And if you are always available, always helpful, always hoping that your effort will be seen, you make it easier for them to keep extracting without giving anything in return. You remove the friction. You remove the cost. And when there is no cost, there is no value. There is only utility. You become the person they remember when they need something and forget when they don't. Here is what changes everything. Silence, distance, scarcity. You stop responding immediately. You stop offering help before it's asked. You stop filling the space with reassurance, effort, and hope. And suddenly they notice. Not because you've done something dramatic, but because you've stopped making it easy. You've stopped being the person who absorbs their needs without question. And when you stop, they have to decide. Do they adjust or do they leave? And that decision tells you everything you need to know. Because people who valued you will meet the boundary, people who were using you will complain about it. And hope kept you from seeing the difference. Hope told you that everyone deserves patience, that everyone is going through something, that you should keep giving because that's what strong people do. But strength without discernment is just exploitation waiting to happen. And the moment you stop hoping people will change, you start seeing them clearly. Now apply this to your career. You've been working hard, staying late and taking on extra projects. solving problems no one asked you to solve. And you hope that someone will notice. You wish that your effort would lead to a promotion, a raise and recognition, but it doesn't, because effort without leverage is invisible, it's expected, it's priced in. You have made yourself useful, but usefulness without scarcity is not valuable, it's just expected output. The people who get promoted are not the hardest workers. They are the people who control access to their value. They do not hope to be noticed. They make sure their absence would be felt. They do not explain their worth. They demonstrate it by creating situations in which others depend on them and then limiting their availability. They make their value scarce, and scarcity creates urgency. Urgency creates priority, and priority creates leverage. But you hoped that doing more would be enough. You hoped that your manager would see how much you contribute and reward you, and while you were hoping, someone else was negotiating. Someone else was setting terms. Someone else was making it clear that their participation was conditional, not guaranteed. And they got the raise, they got the promotion, not because they worked harder, because they made it more expensive to lose them than to reward them. Schopenhauer would tell you that the world is driven by will, not by fairness. And will does not wait to be discovered. It imposes itself. It does not hope for opportunity. It creates conditions where opportunity has no choice but to appear. And if you are still hoping to be valued, you have not yet understood that value is not inherent. It is contextual. It is created by framing, by scarcity, by the consequences of your absence. And if your absence has no consequences, your presence has no premium. Here is what that means. You stop doing unrequested favors. You stop staying late unless it's tied to a visible outcome that benefits you. You stop hoping that effort will be rewarded. You start tying your availability to terms. You start making it clear that your time, your skill, and your presence come with conditions. And the moment you do that, you stop being useful. You start being valuable. And valuable people are treated differently from helpful people. Helpful people are used. Valuable people are negotiated with. This applies everywhere, in every dynamic, every relationship, every environment where you are waiting for someone else to decide your worth. The moment you stop hoping and start choosing, you flip the script. You stop being the person who waits for validation and start being the person who grants it. You stop being the one who explains and start being the one who evaluates. You stop being the one who stays and start being the one people are afraid to lose. But here is the part most people can't handle. This requires you to accept that some people will leave. Some people will call you cold. Some people will say you've changed. And they'll be right. You have changed. You've stopped being controllable. You've stopped accepting their frame. You stopped hoping that patience, kindness, and effort will be enough. And the people who benefited from that version of you will resist the new one. They will try to guilt you. They will try to shame you. They will try to pull you back into the role you used to play. And if you go back, you prove that hope still controls you. Schopenhauer knew that most people cannot tolerate reality. They need to believe the world is fair. They need to think that good things come to those who wait. They need to consider that effort is rewarded and patience is noble. And when you stop believing that, when you start acting like the world responds to leverage and frame and scarcity, they will call you cynical. Let them. Cynicism is just realism without the comforting lies. And the people who need those lies will always resent the people who don't. Here is what happens when you stop hoping. You stop tolerating low-effort relationships. You stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided not to understand you. You stop waiting for managers to notice your value. You stop staying in situations that require you to shrink. And the moment you stop, everything shifts. Not because the world changed, because you stopped pretending that hope was a strategy. You stop being the person who absorbs. You start being the person who filters. You stop being the person who waits. You start being the person who waits. You start being the person others have to impress. You stop being the person who explains. You start being the person who decides. And that shift, that tiny recalibration of frame, changes everything. Because you are no longer playing their game. You are no longer accepting their evaluation. You are no longer hoping they'll see you differently. You've decided how you will be seen, and you've made it clear that anyone who doesn't meet that standard will not have access. This is not cruelty. This is not a game. This is clarity. These are boundaries. This is understanding that your time, attention, presence, and effort are finite, and finite things must be protected, and protection requires refusal. It requires distance. It requires the willingness to let people leave if they will not meet you with respect. And most people are terrified of that, because most people were taught that being wanted is more important than being respected, that being needed is more critical than being valued. And as long as you believe that, you will keep hoping. And as long as you keep hoping, you will keep losing. Schopenhauer spent his life stripping away comforting illusions. He did not do it out of cruelty. He did it because illusions make you weak. They make you predictable. They make it easy to manage. And blind hope is the most dangerous illusion of all, because it feels like strength. It feels like faith. It feels like resilience, but it's not. It's just obedience with better branding. It's the lie you tell yourself so you don't have to face the fact that you've been accepting less than you deserve because you're afraid of what happens if you stop. Here is what happens if you stop. Some people leave. Good. They were never going to respect you anyway. Some people adjust. Better. They've just shown you they're capable of meeting a boundary. And some people stay the same, but now you see them clearly. And clarity is power. Because once you know someone is, you stop hoping they'll become someone else. You stop waiting. You stop explaining. You decide. Stay or go. Invest or withdraw. Engage or ignore. And that decision is yours, not theirs. Yours. That is the shift. That is the power. That is what replaces hope. Decision. Authority. Frame. You stop being the person who reacts. You become the person who sets the terms. You stop being the person who waits for the world to be fair. You become the person who understands that fairness is a children's story and adults play by different rules. And the moment you accept that, you stop losing. Not because you become ruthless, but because you become clear. This is not about becoming cold. This is about becoming expensive. This is about understanding that people treat you the way you've trained them to treat you. And if you've trained them through hope, through availability, through endless patience, then you've taught them to take you for granted. And the only way to undo that training is to stop. Stop hoping. Stop waiting. Stop explaining. And start deciding. Here is your challenge. Go through your life right now. Relationships, friendships, work, family. Identify one place where you've been hoping something will change. One place where you've been waiting for someone to see your value. One place where you've been patient, available, and generous, and gotten nothing back. And stop. Just stop. Stop texting first. Stop offering help. Stop explaining. Stop filling the silence. And watch what happens. Watch who adjusts. Watch who complains. Watch who disappears. And then decide. Decide who stays. Decide what you'll tolerate. Decide what you'll tolerate. Decide what your presence costs. And make it non-negotiable. If you found value in this, share it. If it shifted something, leave a like. If you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe. But do it because you've decided this perspective has value. Not because you're hoping it'll help someday, because hope is not a plan. Decisions. If this hit you, write, "I am the strategist," once in the comments, just to mark the day your mindset changed. You are not the person who hopes anymore. You are the person who decides. You are not the person who waits. You are the person others adjust to. And once you accept that, once you internalize it, you stop being controlled by other people's timelines, other people's standards, other people's frames. You become the frame, and once you become the frame, everything else is just people deciding whether they're willing to meet it. That is power. That is clarity. That is what replaces hope. And once you have it, you never go back.